Most people have no idea how much neglect in childhood can keep controlling them decades later. You can grow up, get a job, even look successful on paper, and still feel like something invisible is running the show. You may think that you're just too sensitive, or you're bad at relationships, or you're never quite motivated enough. But often what's really happening is that you learned very early on to go without comfort, without being seen, without help. And when you've adapted to that for long enough, you stop realizing that it's not normal. You carry it into adulthood as if it's just your personality. That's what neglect does. It doesn't always leave scars, but it shapes what feels natural and what feels impossible. And it can shape who you trust, how you react to love, and how you handle the everyday stresses of being a human. So let's talk about some of the quiet ways that neglect can still totally control you, even when you think that you've moved on, that you're fine now. Okay? Number 1, feeling empty or disconnected, even when life seems fine. Now, you can be surrounded by people, even loved, and still feel a kind of hollowness. That's because neglect teaches you to live without reflection, meaning no one ever noticed what you felt, thought, or experienced. Now, when that happens, your inner life develops in isolation. And then later, even joyful things can feel muted, blunted. The work of healing is learning, maybe for the first time, to name what's happening inside you and let yourself experience it. Let it inform you. Number 2 hidden signs that neglect is still controlling you. Struggling to feel close to people or feeling trapped when you do. If closeness tended to lead to disappointment when you were a kid, your nervous system might register intimacy as danger. You don't do it consciously, but you might stay distant or you might attach very quickly and then panic and pull away. And either way, the goal isn't to label yourself as avoidant or anxious. It's to notice the pattern and gently start teaching yourself that connection can actually work out when you have boundaries and pacing, and you can show up honestly with how you really feel. Now, that's a whole another set of videos and courses that I offer, but that's the gist of it. One of the most important things that you can learn in your healing is that you are in charge of who gets close to you. All right, number 3, attracting emotionally unavailable or hurtful partners. Now, neglect can confuse your internal compass for what love feels like. If you had to fight for attention as a kid, getting neglected in a romantic relationship, it doesn't feel like a red flag necessarily. It can even feel a little bit exciting. You think you just love the chase. But if calm, steady affection feels boring or fake to you, that's the mark of neglect. Your instincts were shaped in an environment where love was scarce. Healing can happen when you're free from that struggle to be loved long enough, even if it means being single for a while, but long enough for the attraction to people who neglect you to fade. Just a little space from people to have quiet and peace, that attraction will fade. Then you can begin to feel something more like attraction around people who are steady and there for you and genuinely interested. Number 4 is avoiding relationships altogether. A lot of traumatized people do this. Instead of chasing love, some people go the opposite way and they crave connection, but they find excuses to stay out of it. They say they're too busy, they're not ready, they can't find the right person. We've all dated people like that. But often what's underneath it is conditioning from that past that needing anyone will always lead to pain. And the way forward isn't to force connection, but to allow trust to develop naturally, slowly, through ordinary moments of reliability and consistency and kindness with other people in your life, often starting with yourself. Number 5, not knowing who you are or what you want. When your feelings and preferences weren't noticed growing up, they weren't reflected back to you by your parents, you may have learned to adapt and to guess what would make other people comfortable or what do they like doing, and then just do that. What you needed was for someone to show you that your thoughts and emotions existed and to help you know what to do with them. And as an adult, this can leave you uncertain about what's real for you. Who are you even? You can lose track of your own center. So healing starts when you begin to notice and name what is true for you, even in the small ways, the little ones that you can see at first. What you like, what you don't like, what gives you energy. All right, number 6 is feeling shame for having needs. Now, neglect quietly teaches us that needing care is something to hide. You may apologize when you ask for help, or you downplay pain because it feels like it's just too much to mention it. But that belief doesn't vanish just because you grow up. You can begin to dismantle it by remembering that every human being needs care. We're born like that, and it stays throughout life. And by practicing asking calmly, without apology, without blame, because sometimes that sort of anger gets in because we anticipate getting rejected, we can ask for what we truly require. Now remember, sometimes people will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help today." Sometimes you'll get a no, and your challenge is to be able to have the resilience to say, "That's cool, okay," and then you just ask the next person. This is often where our needs and just totally clashed into what is our capacity. We didn't have the capacity to be asking for help from a few different people. We would give up too soon. We didn't get it. Then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. See, nobody helps me. All right, 7, going emotionally numb. Many people who grew up neglected learn to shut down when no one responded to their feelings. And that numbness can still show up when stress hits. You freeze, you can't think, you go flat emotionally. And it's an old protection that once made sense, but now it's a nervous system reaction that's holding you back. So when you learn to re-regulate your nervous system and you understand why it goes out of sync and how to spot it and reverse it, everything in your life gets better. This is what happened that helped me go from drowning in trauma symptoms to fully functioning in all areas of my life. And I explain how to do this in my book, Re-Regulated. And do you know this book already is available in 7 languages? I'll put a link to it in the top row of the description section below this video so that you can get your own copy of it. And heads up, the audiobook version is extra popular for this book because if you're dysregulated, listening is sometimes way easier than focusing on the page. And if you like my videos, I think you'll love the book. It's my voice. It'll feel more familiar to you. Number 8, hidden ways that neglect can still be controlling you is doubting your own perceptions. Now, if your reality was dismissed or contradicted when you were a child, that didn't happen, or you're just overreacting, it can become second nature to question yourself. Like, is it just me, or is this terrible thing happening? So in adulthood, that shows up as over-explaining, apologizing too much, or deferring to others, even when you know that you're right. The shift happens when you start treating your perceptions as valid data. And I do understand that when you've had a life of trauma, your perceptions are not 100% reliable. Sometimes we're emotionally dysregulated. Sometimes we're flooded with fears and anxieties. They're distorting things. And so as we heal those things, what comes to meet that emotional clarity is a trustingness. We can do a gut check on things and go, you know what, this really doesn't feel right. And you have to start somewhere. So you do both at the same time. When you do a gut check on a situation going, does this feel okay? Well, get your experience with it. And if it was good, note that. And if it was bad, note that. This is your chance to accelerate your development that probably was supposed to happen when you were younger with your parents helping you. But we're catching up now. When you treat your perceptions as valid data, they might not be the whole truth, but they are worth hearing. And this is a very good thing for you to do, to just keep connecting your thoughts, your feelings, your awareness, and your actions. Number 9 is overreacting to small rejections. When you grew up feeling defective and left out, even a little bit of criticism could trigger panic or despair. So today, if that's still with you, you might be lashing out or spiraling into self-blame or just pulling away from people completely. It's not because the problem is that you're oversensitive. It's because old survival reactions are still hooked to present-day moments. So your sensitivity might be okay. It just looks like oversensitivity because of the trauma reactions that have not settled down yet, not dropped off into the memory bucket. They're active, they're charged. You get cortisol and adrenaline when these things happen. Now, the goal isn't to never feel hurt again, but to notice that when you are hurt, your emotions may get dysregulated. So learning to re-regulate is how you can halt a wave of emotional dysregulation before it causes you to say and do things that you regret. Number 10 is avoiding conflicts or collapsing under pressure. If speaking up when you were a child never changed anything, conflict might feel hopeless or even dangerous to you. You might stay silent until, your resentment builds up and you burst out and then you feel ashamed. Learning to hold your ground calmly, to tolerate discomfort without attacking or disappearing, is one of the clearest signs that you're no longer controlled by neglect. Number 11, repeating self-defeating patterns. Neglect can leave gaps in self-protection. You might notice that you keep choosing what drains you, the wrong partners, jobs that burn you out, habits that damage relationships and isolate you. So for people who have never gotten to the stage of healing where they're facing their self-defeating behaviors honestly, they see how it's holding them back, this is one of the most powerful things that can happen in your healing. There are some very common behaviors for people who grew up abused and neglected, and I've got a list of them to help you spot. You're going to recognize them. You're also going to recognize some that you used to have, but you don't anymore, and I want you to honor yourself for that and, pat yourself for moving past that. You're going to have some of those you never had, and thank goodness. Some people have all of them, and that's okay. You have what you have. But I've got them all listed so that you can spot where you may be going off track in your life. It's a free PDF, and I'll put that in the second row of the description section below this video so that you can grab a copy of that for yourself. Number 12 is feeling responsible for everyone's emotions and problems. If you grew up tiptoeing around the adults' moods, you may still scan the room, ready to smooth things over every time you walk into a room. And it is exhausting to do that. The truth is, empathy is not the same as responsibility. You can care deeply without taking on everyone else's tension. The more you let others own their feelings, the freer you become to handle your own. Number 13, feeling invisible even when you're included. Neglect teaches us that invisibility is this magic form of safety. So you might downplay successes or hold back opinions because standing out feels very risky to you. The cost, though, is that you never feel fully known. And healing begins when you let yourself take up space, not to demand attention, gimme, but to just exist as a real person among people, with a voice, with a presence. Number 14 is feeling uneasy with praise or kindness. I've always had this. I get very prickly on my birthday most years. It's just like an old trigger for me when people are giving me presents and saying happy birthday and getting all over my Facebook page, being nice, I'll just think, ugh. And it's because neglect in childhood can make getting compliments and gifts just triggering. Compliments might embarrass you. Generosity might make you tense. But you can learn to let small kindnesses just land. You can take them in, even feel them sometimes. Just hang out there and feel the love and say thank you without trying to repay or deflect them by saying things like, oh, you shouldn't have, or oh, no, that's not true. Just happily receiving what others give you can be learned through practice. And it's also nice for the other person. Think about when you put some effort into finding a good gift for somebody and they open it and they go, oh, I love it. And they appreciate it. It's so much better than when people are like, great, I'll open it later. So when you can receive what people are giving you, it connects you. Number 15, among the hidden ways that neglect in childhood can still be controlling you, is that you can't recognize mistreatment. I think this is the most harmful kind of control that neglect has over us because it normalizes what should never be normal. You might tolerate dismissive, inconsistent, or cold treatment or even abusive treatment because somewhere in your mind you think this is all there is in life, you can't do any better. And what I often hear people say when they're accepting mistreatment is that they feel confused. It's an inner conflict that comes up because this is what trauma does. It like divides you so that you can't really see the whole thing at once. So on the one hand, you feel hurt and you're offended by the injustice of how someone is treating you, but you're pushing back on the fact that it's even happening, especially if somebody else mentions it or validates you, because of this core idea that, oh, it's probably just me. I'm causing it. I'm imagining it. Or, you may not see the truth of this, but you think there's probably something you did to deserve it. When you're actively working to heal your life, your perception clears up and you can see hurtful treatment from others for what it is. And you can actually feel repelled by it. Why would you want that? That's your sanity coming back so that you don't get this idea, I better cling harder. I better start apologizing. I better fix everything for them. I better try to be like them. And instead, what you'll feel is that the attraction just isn't there anymore. This is what's so cool about it. It may be useful to just like make yourself stay away and do a no contact even when you don't feel ready for it. But there comes a point when the attraction is no longer there. And this is a happy sign that you are breaking free of the impact of neglect in your childhood. Neglect doesn't have to define you. It's something that happened, but it's not something that you are. What it left behind are habits, patterns of thought and reactions that were once protecting you, but now they just keep you small. So when you can see them clearly, this is powerful because once you can see the pattern, you can interrupt it. You can start choosing connection and safety and self-respect on purpose. Now you can heal. It's true. I want you to let that in. You can do it. It might be slowly. It'll be steady. It'll be through practice and awareness. But you can become attuned to what you feel, and it becomes natural to ask for what you need and to let the good things in your life a little closer in. The past might have shaped you, but the healing that you're doing frees you from those old patterns, and it lets you shape what happens now. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. A lot of people are afraid that if they focus on themselves, they'll be lonely or bored or useless or just too consumed with themselves. But when you avoid yourself like this, you lose all your power. And guess what? You become lonely and bored and unable to be useful to anyone.